What is up, everyone? Guys, listen up. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the support weapons and the backpacks, all the good stuff. Essentially, all of the blue stratagems against the illuminates. Now, you guys already know the way we rate items, stratagems, primary weapons, whatever it is how easy they make the maximum difficulty of the game and how effective they are really when it comes to the performance. Now, let's get right into it. The first weapon that we're going to be talking about is going to be the medium machine gun. Easily, this goes to Big PP right away, man. The thing with this is that it literally covers everything you need to cover when it comes to the illuminates. Ergonomically, it feels pretty good. The only problem it has is that you have to stop to reload. That's the only thing I don't like about this one. But apart from that, it's just very strong against the illuminates. It really doesn't have a downside apart from that, right? Like, you're destroying all the enemies. Like, you're not going to be hunting down the Leviathan, but let's be honest, that's not going to be something that you're going to be doing all the time unless you're just messing around or having fun or doing some insane trick shots and whatever, which is really fun. We're going to start off and drop it in the highest tier possible. Then we have the Autocannon, and you guys know usually I'm not a big fan of Autocannon. It takes up a backpack slot and whatnot, but in this case, with the introduction of flash mobs and a lot of enemies in general, this weapon is very, very solid. I'm not going to be dropping it in the highest tier, but we are going to drop it in A tier and high A tier. It's probably going to stay on the very, very high end of A tier. And the reason for that is because I think that taking that backpack slot is something that really hits the build crafting a little bit, because as we go over the backpacks, you will see that some of them are incredibly strong in this current meta. Then we have the Railgun, which is okay, right? I love to use it. I use it in my builds all the time. You're going to see it in some of my builds as well. And with the right loadouts, it still works pretty effectively. But is it as good as the options that we already went over? Not really. The problem is that, once again, the illuminates don't have a lot of very heavy units for which you would need to spam the railgun or need that heavy damage right away, right? And if you're fighting against the flesh mobs, there's a bunch of better options, including primaries, that will probably get the job done better, and you're not going to be spending like half of your ammunition anyway. So we're going to drop this into B tier right now for the illuminates. But then again, as I said, I personally love using it with some of my loadouts, such as the scythe. I use it to take out the harvesters, for example, in the weak spots, and it does a great job. It doesn't really struggle with it, but that's essentially the only thing that I use it for. So that's the problem. Then we have the EATs. The EATs are pretty good, right? I don't have a problem with them that much. I don't think, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring all the rockets over here, and we're just going to discuss them, because I don't have a problem with the rockets in general, this one as well. But I feel like we always come back to the same thing, where we don't have a lot of big enemies that we need to consistently be fighting. Therefore, the other ones are just of more value. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop, for example, EATs in between A and B, right? I don't use it a lot for max difficulty. I just don't find it needed. Then we have the recoilless rifle, which is very, very strong. And I do believe it's more valuable than the EATs, but it also picks up a backpack slot, which I'm not a big fan of. The spear goes to B tier. Now, the Commando is, for me personally, one of the better ones when it comes to the rockets, because I have 4 shots and it destroys harvesters very easily. So having the ability to have multiple rockets is something that I really value over the other ones, right? So we're going to drop this into A tier. It's actually very consistent, and it finds its place in many of the builds right now against the illuminates. I wonder if in the future they're going to add like more heavy units, like ground walking units. Like, imagine like a flash mob, right? But something like the flash mob, but maybe a little bit bigger, that has AP5. Like, that would switch the meta around. But currently, this is the situation we're in. Airburst goes to B tier, probably, maybe even C tier. The thing is, you can use this. Like, I usually dropped it into doo-doo right away. Oh, we forgot to rename this, dude. That can't happen. Doo-doo, bro. Yeah, that's where it is, right? Like, when you look at the amount of enemies and the elevated overseers, it gets to them pretty easily if you place the shots correctly. But overall, there's just better options, and I don't know why I would be using this all the time in my builds. So let's drop it into lower B tier right now, because you can get some clears. The arcthrower goes to A tier right away, guys. And arcthrower is one of those items which gives you the ability to get incredible clears, and when it comes to build crafting, opens up incredible doors. So for example, if you combine this with the eruptor and a secondary like the redeemer, you're covering everything. The eruptor gets the big damage numbers. The The arcthrower gets incredible clears and stun locks everything in front of you, right? So it's very strong. It's not as crazy effective against the flash mobs, but that's when you have the eruptor with that specific loadout. But it literally covers most of everything on the illuminate side, and it can literally just stun lock harvesters, which is very, very cool. And when you combine this with the right backpacks and whatnot, and we're going to be uploading a bunch of builds for the arcthrower as well, you'll see that it is a very strong tool against them. The laser cannon is one of those weapons that got a very cool buff, man. And you might be thinking, what buff did it get? Well, it's tied to the fire changes within the game. Fire scales differently on bigger enemies, and the bigger the enemy, the better the tick damage, right? It scales now, so it makes it very good. The only I would honestly throw this into highest tier, right next to the medium machine gun. The only reason I am not gonna do that is that the initial laser damage on its own without the fire, I wish it would also scale over time. So as I'm like beaming somebody, like after 1 second, the DPS increases a little bit, 2 seconds, even a little bit more. As the hit sync gets overloaded, it should deal more damage. Like that's what I feel should be happening with this one. If that was the case, this would be right over here easily. But right now, that's not the case. So we're going to drop it in high A tier. It's actually very good against the illuminates. Very powerful against the flash mobs, harvesters. Just go for the weak spots, and as soon as you see the fire pop up, after that, they're essentially cooked. Now, let's talk about the flamethrower, one of my favorite support weapons within the game. Very, very good, dude. Very strong. However, there is something that we have to mention when we're talking about the flamethrower, and that is the playstyle and the risks of said playstyle. A lot of people burn themselves with this weapon because there's a lot of things that go into it. You need to know how to use it, how to move, when to stop using it. Every step matters with this weapon. So this is going to be one of those weapons that if you know how to use it, if you know the ins and outs, this can be very high A tier, right? Very high A tier. If you don't, it drops a little bit and goes to the lower A tier. That's where I'm going to throw it in right now because I feel like most of the players don't really use it as much. Therefore, they're going to struggle. However, if you put in the time to master the flamethrower, dude, you're going to love it. This weapon is a beast. It melts down every enemy on the illuminate side. Obviously, you're not going to be hitting leviathans and stingrays, but apart from that, you get my point. Like, you're going to be melting everything. Then we have the sterilizer. This is going to go to C tier, even though it's pretty good when it comes to confusing enemies. The problem is we have gas grenades, we have the gas orbital. So why am I going to be running this when I can have both the gas and, for example, the flamethrower, combine the two damages, have them confused already, and then they're taking dot damage from both of these beauties. Wasp goes right next to the medium MG. This thing is a monster against the Illuminates, bro, and it's so much fun to use. The lock-on is pretty consistent as long as they're not like super close. You can destroy the stingrays. 4 shots only for the flash mobs. Monster, dude. Monster. It does take up a backpack slot. You guys know I'm not a big fan of that, but this is one of those exceptions where I'm okay with it because of the fact that the weapon is just so good. It's just so good, man. So if you haven't yet, try it out. Grenade launcher goes to high A tier. This thing is a beast. Flash mobs, joke. They're a joke with the grenade launcher. Ad clear, an absolute joke, right? It's a monster. Put on a supply backpack, put on a grenade launcher, grab an eruptor, a redeemer, go out and just destroy everything. The AMR for the illuminates, very solid option. Cannot go wrong, especially if you like to use like sniper type weapons. And even if you're trying to play from like far away, keep your distance, all that kind of stuff, feels great. The damage is there, all that kind of stuff. Once again, the illuminates don't have like super heavy enemies where it's gonna struggle. So if that's the playstyle you enjoy, this is a beast. Not for me. I'm not a big fan of this weapon, but after testing it, it feels very solid. So whether I enjoy it or not is a different conversation, but how it performs is a completely different one. And it does perform very, very well. We're going to throw this into A tier. Next up is the Stalwart. We're going to put this into A tier. This thing is incredible against the illuminates. Ammo economy, really nice. The damage output, the fire rate, everything is good. But the problem is, above it is the medium LMG. And the medium LMG literally covers all the enemies on the illuminate side. And the Stalwart cannot do that. So I'm not going to be dropping this right next to it because it wouldn't make sense, honestly, when it comes to performance. But it does open up doors to completely different kinds of builds. Then we have the Quasar cannon. B tier. B tier. Not many uses for it. Heavy machine gun is going to go into A tier as well, guys. It is. Personally, I feel like it's a little bit too sluggish for me, but it deals tons of damage, bro. And it just takes out everything on the Illuminate side with ease. Now let's talk about the backpacks, and this is where it gets really exciting. Let's talk about the flag backpack, dude. This one, insane, right? You plant it, everybody's getting healed, melee damage for your teammates. The aura just increases. The problem is, none of it is true. That is what we expected. It did not happen. It goes to doo-doo right away. Ballistic shield. Not a big fan apart from melee builds, which I'm going to be working on a bunch of melee builds in the future, but that's about it. So there's not many uses for this against the Illuminates. We're going to drop it into C tier right away. The shield, the backpack, will increase your survivability, but once again, I don't feel the need of using this against the Illuminates to stay alive. If you play your cards right and if you have the right armor and whatnot, you're not going to need this as much. We're going to throw this into in between A and B. The second shield backpack, I used to run this way more and combine it with the crossbow, for example, and it was tons of fun. But at the moment, the next upcoming backpacks just completely overshadowed this for me. And I essentially, if I want more survivability, I'll use the normal shield backpack, right? And if I want more damage and whatnot, we're going to go over those here in a second. So we're going to drop this into B tier, lower B tier. I mean, you can still make use of it. Definitely more useful than the ballistic shield once built around it, but that's about it. Now, the laser rover, I couldn't wait to get to this one. The laser rover goes to big PP easily. Now, let me explain. Not only does it destroy the zombies and whatever, but remember, the fire is reworked. So when it sets, for example, the flash mobs on fire, which it will, or the overseers, which it will, you'll see that the flash mobs are getting destroyed while you're not even thinking about them. So not only is it dealing direct damage, but the tick damage just keeps going. It keeps going, and flash mobs just get deleted. And you might have like 3 of them, and you're like fighting other things, just avoiding them, and the laser is on them and getting the job done. Very strong right now. The Liberator guard dog is actually also very good as well. You guys know I was never a big fan of this one, but now it is very fun to use and very effective. Gets the zombies off of you easily and other enemies as well. So we're going to throw this into A tier as well for the backpacks. Now, keep in mind, essentially we're rating backpacks separately. So imagine like the weapons weren't even here, okay? Then we have the support backpack. Easily goes to big PP as well. I mean, it affects so many different builds. Betters your survivability. Gives you tons of grenades. Everything just it goes to the next level with the support backpack. One of the best backpacks in the game, hands down. The gas rover is also gonna go to A tier. Still a very good tool for survivability, keeps you alive, gets everybody confused, which makes it much easier for you to deal with them. And if you combine this, for example, with a weapon like torture, the flamethrower, or even the incendiary grenades, your gameplay goes to the next level. Next up is the nuke backpack. Also a very good tool, but it's more of a fun tool, right? You can get a lot of kills, you can get clears, but all of these backpacks across the board are going to give you way more value. So we're going to drop this in between A and B. Okay, let's talk about the jump pack, because this one, guys, is a very interesting one. What this does essentially in this current meta against the Illuminates is it gives you the ability to create that distance that you need to stay alive very easily. And that's why it's so much fun. So we're going to drop this into A tier. I feel like with the right build, with the right knowledge, the jump pack can make a huge difference in survivability and the speed at which you're going to be clearing missions, which is a big deal right now against the Illuminates. So for example, if you go into the mission where you have like 50 ships, you want to be moving around fast, and you also want to be getting away from the elevated overseers because they can overwhelm you. Well, guess what? The jump pack does both of those things for you. So we're going to drop it once again into A tier. Now, the hover pack is something that is goated against the bugs, but I feel like it's not as good against the Illuminates. I'm probably going to drop it into B tier here. You could position yourself on the buildings and whatnot in a very interesting way, but that's not something you're going to be utilizing all the time. You know what I'm thinking right now? I'm probably going to do a more in-depth testing for this one as well and try to make it work on this kind of biome and see if that way we can make it move up a tier, if we find some things that will make it move up. But right now, let's keep it at B tier. When it comes to the mechs, the Autocannon mech, for me personally, feels way better than the other one. So we're going to drop this in between A and B. And then we're going to drop the normal one into C. And then when it comes to the vehicle, we're going to drop it into B. For me, it's more of like a fun thing. Anyway, that is it for our tier list for all of the blue stratagems. Make sure to let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. Thank you so much for all the love and support. As always, stay positive, stay disciplined, and I'll see you all on the next one.